Let me check one more thing, and I'm almost there. It has been a week, guys, right? Like, Jericho and I are over here in Hurricane Alley. Yep, that went up good.
ADB.
And we had the port strike that was going on, and Iran attacked Israel. It's been
insane.
It's been insane.
But all right, so I'm going to introduce you. Are you live?
I think so. I'm going to check one more thing, but I think it just went live on my channel as well. Back out here and just make sure that's going. Yep, I think we're good. Cool. I'm good. Yep, good on my stream too.
All right. Weldon Carey, welcome. All right, so we had the hurricane. We're going to have a very interesting discussion. If you have any questions or if you want to talk about how you prep and chat, feel free to do so. It's going to be this guy's show here. We've got Prepping with Sarge. I got to find the right button. There we go. We got Prepping with Sarge. I'm going to play the intro and the little song we wrote for this stream, and then Sarge, once it ends, it's yours.
Good to go. All right,
there guys. We go.
Awesome song. I love it. It was so cool. And thank you everybody for the patience there while I was trying to work through some difficulties. I've never cross streamed while a guest on somebody else's. So for those of you who are watching this on my channel, just know that I can't see that chat because I'm actually guesting on their chat. So I've got way too many windows open. I know I popped over for a second. I saw a few mods there. So mods, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And thank you. Looks like you got my guys up there. Appreciate it.
Yep.
So mods, thank you for kind of keeping an eye on the house there while I'm visiting with these guys. We're definitely going to be talking about some preparedness stuff tonight. And I guess we should probably start with a little bit of introduction to me for those who don't know me. So I'm Prepping with Sarge, and I have a couple channels actually. I've got this one here that I'm going to drop in the links right now. That's my main channel. And then I've got a mental health channel here because my primary job is I'm actually, give me that link. There we go. My primary job is I'm actually a licensed therapist, and I do a lot of trauma work with first responders and some veterans as well. So I do actually bring a lot of the mental health pieces of that into the work that I do with teaching people about preparedness. And been doing this both quite a long time, 25 years as a therapist, and pretty much my whole life as a quote-unquote prepper. Grew up in a middle-class household, but my parents grew up really, really poor. And so a lot of the stuff I learned from them. My dad was a vet, 82nd Airborne, and he had done some survival training for Arctic weather and taught me some of that stuff. And mom was fond of plants and gardening, and so she taught me all about caring for plants and growing your own food and things like that, which later translated to a love for foraging and finding wild plants. Of course, I did the Boy Scouts and stuff like that, kind of your standard path towards preparedness. Didn't really know what that was though until we didn't call it prepper, right? Like we would just call it like common sense, or maybe some people would have said like, oh, he's kind of into survivalism and stuff like that. But never heard the word prepper until that show came out, Doomsday Preppers, and then that kind of became a thing. And so that's how people find preparedness topics now, is looking for words like prepping and prepper. So appreciate you guys having me on. Glad to be here. If you guys, anytime you guys want to jump in. There's definitely, we were talking backstage, there's a lot of experience here. So there's things that you guys will be able to speak to more than me. So please, by all means, feel free to jump in on anything and add comments and questions, anything that comes up.
It was in the back of my mind since we were going to, do this collaboration. And, it's a little bit, the prep stuff is a little bit out of my thing. So it gained some interest, especially in the world that we're living in today. Mm-hmm. There's so much going around, especially, like Jericho got caught up in the hurricane that's and there's more on the way it's interesting to know how many people are prepared or aren't prepared. And I think the majority of the people aren't prepared because we take everything for granted today.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that I see in this.
I think you're right.
Myself, I'm from the city. I tell these guys, I go to the supermarket, and if it's not in a styrofoam container with cellophane over it, I don't know where else I would get it from.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the majority of people aren't prepared for even like a 3-day power outage, right? Like that, and that's a little scary. Like, and that's part of, not just me. There's tons of creators that are out there that are trying to help people get a little bit more prepared, right? Like you don't have to build a bunker, you don't have to go full on disappearing into a cabin in the mountains. Although that certainly sounds nice, you can do a lot of things to get more prepared than you are right now, and at a decent budget, really. Like you don't have to break the bank for this stuff. The last time I remember there was a big power outage. I'm not trying to pick on any particular city here, but in a big city, like I live in a city right now, but this like think of like the top 5 cities in the U.S. I'm not going to name which one it was. People were flipping the flip out after only like 24 hours of a power outage because nobody knew how to cook, nobody knew how to get food, and people were getting like dangerously agitated. So it can get bad real fast. People get agitated and a little bit desperate. Now you got another problem on your hands too, right? Besides sitting in the dark and being hungry.
It's definitely different. Urban life, especially like, so we'll say Chicago, like sometimes in the summer there'll be rolling blackouts. Sometimes there'll just be no electricity and it's hot and people are mad and they're annoyed. No air conditioning. I mean, I'm fat. I like my air conditioner. Let me tell you what. But moving from up north and then coming down to North Carolina, tornadoes are old hat to me. Like I hear the tornado whistle, I grab my phone and I'm like, I gotta go see if I can see this. But now moving down here, and this is our first hurricane experience. We do have solar, we've got propane tanks, we've got some stuff, but our solar failed. Didn't have enough batteries, and it failed because we had 3 days of completely dark skies.
Right.
It had absolutely no opportunity to recharge the system. We were able, fortunately, to get a recharge the 4th night, help us get through the 5th day, and then either the 5th or the 6th night, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But it was hell. Like, I have booster packs for my phones for filming, and when we had power, we made sure all of the booster packs were plugged in. Yep. But it's not enough. It's not enough electricity. I'll never be Amish. I'm going to tell you that. But our biggest problem, so our refrigerator runs off of 12 volt and propane. But when the battery died, the food died.
Yeah.
And like I said, I said hashtag partially prepared. That's me. I was partially prepared, but I'm going to tell you, if you're partially prepared, you're not prepared.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to know, like, you know, the region that you're in there, they're not prone to this kind of hurricane typically. This is pretty unusual. So, you know, we can prepare for a lot of things, and I think people should. And there's some basic steps that we can all take, but I live really close to the ocean. By the way, this is not my house. For anybody who doesn't know me, this is just a backdrop. I don't live like Diddy. Okay, so
yeah, I just came this close to putting the same backdrop up just to make people think we were in the same house. No,
it's too bad you couldn't change the view a little bit so it does look like you're like sitting right over here.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I do moderately well, but this is not my house. So, but I live close to the ocean, and if there was a tsunami overnight, like that's game over for me. Like, there's no preparing for that. So you can't prepare for everything. If you live really close to a super volcano and it decides to go off suddenly in the middle of the night, you're probably going to be gone before they can get the evacuation order to you.
Yeah.
There's certain things that are just like, you can't prepare for every single scenario, but what are the basics, right? Like, so, first of all, remember, skills are better than gear, right? And I like gear. I'm a gear junkie, and I would say I kind of like Gucci gear. I'm not going to lie. But skills are better than gear. So, and a lot of times skills can be gained for free. Library books will teach you a lot, and watching YouTubers. I have about 100 videos on my channel of edible plants and medicinal plants, so you can go and learn that. And then sometimes you can find free courses too, right? Like a lot of churches and a lot of groups will teach free first aid and stop the bleed and mental health first aid and things like that. Free canning classes at your cooperative extension office, things like that, right? So, get as much skills as you can, because in the end, skills always beats gear. Mindset is also very, very important too, right? So that's a lot of what we talk about with the mental health piece of this, is how to not panic when you're in a situation. And, you guys talked about the tornadoes, right? So I've been through a few tornadoes. I used to live in Kentucky, and you're right. There's a part of you that gets drawn to that. Like, they're beautiful, and there's something that's magnificent and scary about them at the same time. And that's why people go chasing them, right? They're fantastic, and they're deadly at the same time. I am going to drop a link here for, what was that last question? Sorry, I clicked away.
I'm going to drop your link.
Okay.
I got
this
it.
This link here that I'm going to drop now, guys, this is a free course that I got on a website. I don't know that it's going to be free forever, but it's free right now for mastering your calm in emergency situations. And again, that's coming at it from like mental health perspective, that I've been doing that for a long time, teaching people how to manage their panic attacks, teaching my first responders how the fight, flight, freeze in their brain is working and why they're feeling the way that they are in those situations. And then I did an article here that I'm going to drop as well. That's also, of course, free you should be able to see this for free. This is an article I did for Off-Grid. I wrote for Off-Grid magazine. So both of those are free. Take it if you're wanting to get into preparedness, take advantage of free courses, any skill development that you can for free, because gear does get expensive once you start getting into that end of it. But what's the first prep? What do you guys think?
First thing you should prepare for?
Yeah. What's the first skill or piece of gear or whatever that you should be thinking about for preparedness? What do you guys think I'm going to recommend?
Fire.
Fire's up there.
Shelter
Water
and fire.
filtration.
What'd you say, Joe?
I was thinking fire myself.
Okay. What'd you say, Hillbilly Samurai?
Well, water filtration.
Water filtration. That's it right there. Water filtration, because that is you can only survive a couple days without clean water. And believe it or not, water is actually the biggest killer on the planet. We're very blessed here in the United States that usually you have clean drinking water. I know there's a few places in the country that have had problems. I know that. But for the most part, most of us in the United States, you can open your tap and you get some H2O, and it's pretty safe. You know, you're gonna be able to drink it. Water filtration, you know, so with a storm, just as an example, but there's other situations that could happen where all of a sudden the water's not available. You know, the municipality, their plant gets shut down or their filtration gets jacked up. And if you're lucky, they may get word out that you have to boil water, right? Or maybe it's so bad that you're pulling water from a pond or something like that, or rain barrels. And so you need to have a way to make water clean. Boiling it will kill bacteria, but a filtration system will also get rid of a lot of the toxins. And if you live near chemical factories or railroad tracks or an airport or a highway, you really need to be careful about the amount of toxins that's probably in those waters too.
So I have a question about that.
I would like to point something out real fast though, because you say if you live by that. Here in our town, our waste treatment, Lake Lottahocky, you know, the waste treatment ponds are literally right next to the water treatment plants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So every time we have a flood at White River, it washes back into it and we have to boil water. So,
yep.
I mean, it could be out of your control. You might not even know it sometimes.
Yeah, if you don't get the alert, you know, or word of mouth or whatever, then that you could be accidentally ingesting water, in which case you better hope you got some Imodium on hand and some other stuff to get through what's coming for you, because it's going to be bad.
All right, so I got a question. Berkey water filters, where it uses the charcoal, the sand, and I can't remember the other part of it, but the 3-stage filter. I've seen people make their own, where they basically just make a big funnel into the ones you flip over to put in the water cooler. They do something how they rig it to where it goes through that. Now, is that filtration enough to remove these impurities, or should you still boil after you use the Berkey type thing?
Well, if you're making one in the bush, like you're describing, like with sand and charcoal and grass and that kind of stuff, I would absolutely still boil it. That's you know, it's better than nothing what you're describing. I would do that if I had nothing else, and then I would try to boil if I could too. Hey Maccabee, it's good to see you, and thank you everybody else. I saw everybody that had popped up earlier in chat. But if you're using like a really good dedicated filter that's got a good reputation, I don't think that, and I don't personally, like, you know, I've used my Grail system, Grayl. I've used that backpacking and hiking without boiling and no problem. Cat-O'9's good. Sawyer is good. There's probably several others that we could come up with here, but Berkey, I personally like Berkey. There was some controversy around Berkey a couple of years ago, but, and again, I don't want to get too much into that, but in my opinion, the people who are raising the controversy were part of the problem. They were not using the right filters, and there's questions about how they were doing their tests. So personally, I trust Berkey, but if you're not sure, do your own research on it. I'm not an affiliate with them or anything like that. But if somebody said, hey, this came out of my Berkey, I personally will drink it. Yeah, no problem.
So we live in a camper, and that's one of the things when you first look into doing the nomad lifestyle, everybody's talking about having a little water filtration system in their camper. And that's just because if you're boondocking, you need drinkable water. We don't drink the water out of our 40-gallon tank. We use that for showers, dishes, and whatever. But they're not very cheap.
Yeah.
And you'd think that it's sand, charcoal, and a little filter paper type stuff. It'd be a little cheaper. I don't know. It's like outrageously freaking expensive. What's up, Gail Southern Living? And can you give me a wrench on yours so I can drop Joe's link and my link and Samurai's link? Because our chat doesn't show up in your chat. So when people comment, I pop it up on here. But
yeah. Give me a minute and I can do that. Yeah.
while you're doing that, I would urge, we in our go bag, we've got the filters. We've even got some of those big, thick straw filters, for. But we also keep the tablets, the purification tablets too.
Yep.
Because sometimes you can't boil when you need to. So, and for like $6, you can get a little bottle of those, and I would recommend putting those there too.
I was going to ask, when you guys are talking about boiling the water, are you just putting it on the top of a stove or putting it over an open flame and boiling it, or are you capturing it like a still and distilling it through a copper hose or anything? And
now that's my next question. Is that even more purification? So if we are able to create a water still,
So yeah, water still is gonna it is actually, unfortunately, it's gonna also take out some good elements too. But it's H2O. Yeah, it's good.
Make me
Jericho, check to see if that wrench went through for you. If
it
worked.
did. I'm already taking care of it. Thank you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Hi, Angela, how you doing?
The cool thing about a still though is that you're going to also be, and those can be pricey too. But you're going to be able to do some other stuff with it too, right? Like you're going to be able to make some liquid medicine and fire starter, and you're also you can desalinate water. You could desalinate salted water too, right? So it's very energy intensive though. Like for the amount of boiling that you do, like it's a big project, and you could be sitting there boiling salt water all day long, and then having to clean the tubing because it's getting clogged with salt and whatnot. But
I will say,
it's a good resource.
You can just take a pot and a piece of plate glass.
Yes.
At an angle, and you've got a still. You just as it condenses, it'll run down. You can collect it there. It's not going to be as clean as a real still, but if you're faced with that, or like you said, finding Imodium, you might like it.
Yeah, that brought me to that question. When I was in the military, I was on a naval ship, and they had a desalination process that we had to use, and it never gave anybody a problem. We used it all the time.
I'm not talking about that. I wasn't talking about the iodine pills themselves. Now we've got some of those. They've got some actual purification tablets that basically kills. It's antibacteria is what it is.
And of course, bleach, a small amount of bleach. I think it's a teaspoon. Somebody would have to look this up. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's a teaspoon for 5 gallons of water will kill all the bacteria. And there again, it's not going to remove the other toxins. But
I thought it was a cap for 40 gallons, like the bleach bottle cap. Well, it depends how pure your bleach is.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
There's some other tricks, that people can do. There are purification tablets that you can get in the camping section of most stores that would have that kind of thing. And those are good to have too, especially if you go hiking. They're tiny little bottles. So why not throw one of those in your camping bag, your backpacking bag?
Behave, Stuart.
In a pinch, like you're going to use the best that you've got available, right? So if you're out in the sticks and all you've got is I'm going to have to rig up, like what you said, with some charcoal and maybe some sand and maybe some grass, and then maybe I'm going to boil it. Like if that's all I can do, then that's what I'm going to do. You're going to use the best resource that you got available. But if I've got my Grail water filter with me, I'm going to use the Grail water filter instead of that.
Yeah.
So water, thinking about like a way to purify water should be prep number one. And we just talked about probably like 5 different methods of doing it. And so, have a few of those that you know how to do if you don't have any of your equipment with you. And again, if I have all I got is pond water and I can't filter it, but I can boil it, then I'm going to do that because, I'm probably going to live. I might absorb some toxins in my body that are not great for me, but I'm probably going to live, If it's Chernobyl water, maybe not so much, but, but I guess if I was in that situation, I'd be trying to get out of Chernobyl as fast as I could, Hey,
There you
Stuart.
go.
Hey, Bacon. Hey, Lazarus. Good to see you.
Lazarus Long.
Yep. 1 gallon of water, 6 drops of bleach. Okay. Thank you, Lazarus.
Now, this probably not going to make much sense to anybody else, but how old are you up to now, Lazarus Long? He might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So I got another question I had for you. When looking at situations, not so much as the hurricane, even this brought another level of shit upon people. If it would have just been the big storm, strong winds taking out the power lines, this would be a fully preppable situation for 99.9% of the people. With what happened with the mudslides, the landslides, the washouts, and the flooding, people, there's nothing you can prepare for to that extent.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people, you're in your car, you're going somewhere, they don't have that kit. When we were up north, we had oh shit, it's icy, we go into the ditch, a blanket, a candle, glow sticks, different things like that to get through the night, some case of water in there. But what would you recommend for a car for somebody down here in the South or anywhere? It doesn't matter where. What would you recommend for the car bag of prep? I know you have a video on it, and if you want to
I just did a video on
touch on it and drop that link, that would be cool too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody, whether you're in the North or the South, a blanket is obviously a good prep. You know, keeping some basic tools in there. And I know, like, some people have said to me, well, I wouldn't know how to fix something in my car anyways. Well, a lot of times, probably me too. But you might encounter some good Samaritan who comes along and says, well, I do know how to fix cars. Can I help? You know, but they might not have the tools and you do, right? So jumper cables, like, everybody should know how to jump start your car. You know, that's pretty easy. You can just go and get a video off YouTube. It's really easy to learn. There's really no reason why I can see. And people have asked me so many times, like, hey, can you jump my car? Yeah, where's your jumper cables? I don't have them. No, all right, I got them. So I got you. You know, like, everybody should have jumper cables. A tire patch kit. You know, you're just talking about, like, what are the most basic things that are going to probably go wrong on your vehicle. So a tire patch kit, or my wife carries in hers the inflation. It's like an air compressor so she can inflate her tires. Depending on what tires you got, you know, those cans of Fix-A-Flat. The newer tires with the sensors and stuff like that, they don't want you really using those. If you've got older tires or an older car, you know, those should be fine. The sensors tend to, I guess it jacks them up if you use that Fix-A-Flat foam stuff. A shovel, right? Like, everybody should have a shovel. Like, you know, well, I don't live in the North. There's no snow. Okay, well, look what just happened in Western North Carolina. They got mud everywhere, right?
Well, most of the people that watch my channel travel with a different preparedness kit. We've got shovels, classifiers, and pans, but we're going to touch on that for the people over in Sarge's in a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely are going to talk about the financial preparedness piece here too. We're getting there. I always have water in my car. Rotate that out. You don't want to keep that in there too long, but rotate it out as long as you're using it or giving it away. Like, there's a lot of homeless people in my area, so sometimes I'll just kind of stop and if I know where all the camps are, and I'll just, like, take all the water out of my car and leave it where I know they are, and then I'll just restock myself. You know.
Is it true that water gets like in plastic bottles that we buy, that we, you know,
it leaches? Yeah.
It does. The plastic leaches into the water and it's no good.
Especially at temperature.
Yeah, my wife yells at me all the time for keeping water in the, you know, like a half drank bottle of water in the car and then getting heated up and everything like that. And I still drink it, but she yells at me all the time for doing it. So I was just going to question that.
It's true. There's some of the plastics will leach into the water, and we all probably are consuming, like, they call it microplastics. We're all probably consuming some of it. It's probably not good for us. Probably the more you consume of it, probably, you know, the more risk it is. So on my video that I just did about it, I was talking about using maybe getting some stainless steel and leave some room for pressure because when it's hot, right? And still rotate. The other thing about leaving like a clear water bottle in your car, there is a very, very small chance. It's small because I know I used to leave a lot of water, like those clear bottles in my car too, and I never had a problem. But there's a very, very small chance that the sun hits it just the right way and turns it into like a magnifying spot, and you could start a fire in your car.
Oh,
Yes.
I never thought of that.
So,
yeah.
that was the other thing. I was told I need to do the start fire with water challenge using the Ziploc baggie and as a magnifying glass with water in it. So that's going to be one of the things I'm going to try to do here in the next coming days. Is they said practice.
Yeah,
it's
fun.
You might want that water. You might want that fire faster.
Yeah.
Jericho, can we use a towel during that challenge?
A towel?
Yeah, along with it.
We're going to go down a water slide and have the friction
No, I'm going to put
the
towel over your face and use the water to waterboard you until you give me your lighter, and then I'll light the fire. Sorry. I had a great idea, though, Sarge.
Yeah.
Sometime you need to let me just get my jump bag, and you need to critique it brutally. Just let me pull stuff out, and then you can go through and tell me what I'm missing, what's good, what's bad. I just think it'd be fun sometime.
Yeah, that'd be a fun stream. Let's do it.
Okay.
So water, food would be the next one, of course, like the next big prep for your home, would be. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I give some ideas on the car?
Yeah, we have the blankets, the water.
Yeah,
do you think road flares are a necessity?
I don't carry road flares in mine, but I do carry like bright, like the triangles.
I'm having internet issues, I think.
Okay. I don't carry the road flares, but I do carry triangles and those chem lights, the glow stick ones. And of course, like flashlight, you're gonna have to get into the habit of rotating your batteries, unless it's like your everyday carry. You always have a flashlight on you. But if you're just keeping it in the car, then you're gonna have to rotate your batteries.
So I just made a purchase. That's something I was gonna ask you that was supposed to be here today, but hurricane. Anyways, I got the flashlight. I got the 2-pack of flashlights where it's got the weather or the weather radio, AM FM radio, and then it's got the crank thing, so you got flashlight, and it's got a solar thing on it. That's the exact one. I might know a guy that had one on his channel. I got one for myself and one for the missus. You can charge your phone on that thing.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are on my channel, Prepping with Sarge has a lot of amazing videos, and he does have a lot of discount codes and other codes. So if you're looking at purchasing some stuff, I greatly appreciate it if you would click his links, because YouTube's expensive, StreamYard's expensive, but it helps him and shows some appreciation. I know he appreciates it. That's what I wanted to say about that.
That little thing would do good out in the bush too, even if it wasn't an emergency. No.
Yeah,
but better than nothing, right? Like going back to like what's emergency kit, your phone, right? Like this is, we may not, if worst case scenario happens, like some kind of, we're getting to World War III, EMP, something like that, then maybe you're not going to be able to use your phone. But right now we can, and this is like your number one survival piece of kit right now. Your phone. Like there's so much you can do with it. You can access information. You can get maps. You can call 911. You can drop a pin so somebody else can find your location. You can do apps like Life 360 that tells your loved ones where you are. There's like 2 or 3 different ways you can communicate on there, right? I can email, I can text, I can call, and I could use Messenger as well. And you can get apps to do other kinds of communications with it too. So if one way is not getting through, another one might. So, I know like true hardcore survivalists will say you need to know how to survive without your cell phone. And yes, that's true. But I'm also going to use what I have while it's a resource for me. So why wouldn't I carry a way to charge up my phone?
Right? Exactly.
Why throw away like the most basic way to keep myself alive? So I always recommend in your car have a couple extra, like most modern cars, you should be able to charge your phone off the car. So have a couple cords in there that can do that, and check them once in a while, because those things do get played out and worn out and stuff. So periodically check them.
I did something
you
similar
also
with
shouldn't
my.
you shouldn't be wasting all your power playing Candy Crush either, you know.
I did something similar with my other tools. I now have electric chainsaws, electric air pumps, everything, all with the Ryobi One Plus.
Yep.
And I've set up some solar panels, little battery, and I've got a charging station that is totally off grid that'll charge all those up.
Yep.
So, and I even got the AC the converter, so I can put it on one of them and get AC back out to run anything that way.
Yep.
So I mean, batteries. I would say pick. Well, it doesn't have to be Ryobi.
Yeah.
You know, Makita, whoever, but look at something like that if you're serious about wanting to be prepared, because that way I've got a generator and I've got solar. All I have to do is keep the generator going and I can keep everything else. I don't have to have gas for the chainsaw or for, anything like that.
Yeah, I've got one of those battery powered chainsaws too. And they do pretty good for like small projects. Like I wouldn't try to take down an oak tree with it because it's pushing its limits at that point. But we had a small tree that we lost on the property during this storm, during Helene. And I just used the electric chainsaw and completely got that thing taken down, and then because I live in the city, they actually will come and take away my debris and stuff. So, but if I didn't, it's just going to the burn pit, right? Or your wood stove or whatever,
I might make a pen out of it.
One of the things I think people don't think about, I have seizures. I have a variety of other conditions, but I get a whole bunch of different medications. Having an extra 2 week to 30-day supply of medications is extremely necessary, especially if you're old or have a heart condition, or even for the mental health. And somebody had said something about Candy Crush. So as someone with severe adult ADHD, and I have to have something I can hyper focus on. So I was reading books, trying to stay off my phone, not play my phone games. But there obviously are digital versions of books available, because if you had all the prepping books that you would need to review, or there's so many different things. So having the Audible or the Kindle version or digital version of those, you can store a lot of stuff on your phone and be able to look at pictures of plants to make sure it's the right plant.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. As long as you've got internet, great resource to have. But
you can download it directly to your phone.
Yes.
Then you wouldn't need the internet for that.
Yes. Yeah. And having a good prepper. I like that you said that, having a good prepper library with like how-to manuals, fix-it manuals, gardening manuals, foraging books, first aid books, right? Canning books. All that stuff is pretty good stuff to have in your prepper library. You're just collecting your little bit of information that doesn't have to be stored on the internet, like you said, and it's always available to you, and you can lend it out to a friend. Really good suggestion. Games, puzzles, things that you can do offline for the kids when there's a power outage, so they're not chewing up what power you do have to play PlayStation or whatever, and I like video games. I'm not knocking on that.
Yeah.
We got 2 decks of cards in our bag.
There you go. Yeah. And pleasure reading too, right? Not just like resource books, but like pleasure reading too. Have a few of those around. Right. I got a couple books that I keep on hand that I've never read, but they look good to me, and I'm just holding them for like a big power outage.
Are there situations where, like, say, like I'm up here in the Northeast, and we have 4 different seasons, throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on the time of year it is, would it be harder at one stage of the game to get to forage for food and berries and stuff like that, as opposed to when it's not growing? You would have to know the difference in the season. Yeah. That plays a big part. I was just thinking.
It does, and there's a reason why bears and some other animals hibernate, right? Because there's just their hibernation is actually driven by lack of available food. So they know when the winter comes and the plants are starting to be less accessible, and then the other animals are starting to be kind of further and further apart. That's usually their signal to, okay, I'm going to bed for the winter. I'll see you in the springtime. So, yeah, you should know if you're going to get into foraging. What I usually recommend, it can get intimidating to people. So I recommend you got to make it fun. Start with like trying to pick 5 plants in your area to learn, and just get really good with those 5, and then start adding on from there. So then you do 6, then you go 10, then you do, at some point you're going to get up to like 30 or so. And then you're going to look, okay, do I know 5 plants for each season in my area, right? Do I know 5 plants that are in my area for each season? Do I know what they look like during the different seasons? Because plants even look differently in the winter than they do in the summer and spring, right? So I was actually just making a video today. I was editing it, and the video was showing this plant now, October. And I said, well, I want to show them what it looks like in springtime. So I had to go and find a picture of what it looked like in the springtime because it was very different.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Something Sarge and I talked about. So you're going foraging.
I love foraging.
You get some berries, and then over here you see some mushrooms, and then over here you see, where are you going to put all that stuff? I think one of the things I hardly ever see on preppers' lists is Ziploc bags.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your mouth.
One of them small boxes of Ziploc bags.
Yep.
I mean, if it's gonna be a few day situation, if you're gathering stuff for your family, you're gonna want to have something to bring it back in instead of having to use your shirt or whatever.
And they can, decently, not as great as like a water bottle, but they can hold water, right?
Yep.
So you could gather water. There's actually, I don't know that I could show this on a live stream, but I can try to describe it. There's a technique you can use to gather water from a tree by taking a plastic bag and you wrap it around some of the greenage, and then you secure it. And then as the water is evaporating out of the greenage into the bag, it'll collect down the bottom of the bag, and then that's actually safe drinking water. It's not going to be a lot. You're probably talking about a tablespoon for a maybe not even a tablespoon for a small plastic bag. But if you had 100 of those, that might be enough water for you for the morning. So yeah, plastic bags. And also if you're trying to do like fruit trees and stuff like that, but you don't have any fruit spray, there's techniques you can do with the fruit trees to keep them from getting like overrun by bugs with plastic bags as well, where you're kind of wrapping it around the fruit as it's developing, and it gives it some protection. You're still going to get some insect damage and whatnot, but it'll salvage some of it.
Wow.
Now, you mentioned a good safety kit.
So are you talking about for car, or what do you mean?
Well, for either one.
Yeah.
Yeah, good first aid kit.
Oh, first aid kit. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely you want to have a good first aid kit in your car.
And I'd even recommend something like this.
What you got there?
Minor surgical instruments.
Oh, cool. Nice.
It's just scalpel and some hemostats and stuff like that. But I mean, it's cheap. Slide it down in there. Like you said, you might not be a doctor, but you might be in a situation where you need one, and there's one right next to you. It doesn't have any tools. So,
yeah, good first aid kit for the car, a really good first aid kit for home. You need to take some classes and know what you're doing with that stuff too, right? You need to take some classes like first aid, CPR, stop the bleed. As far as you're willing and to take that. And you, Jericho, you had mentioned medication, right? So
yes, sir.
One resource I wanted to share here with people is Jace Medical. So Jace Medical, I'm going to put a link for that too as well. I'll drop a link in chat for that. Jace Medical, and if you use discount code Sarge10, you'll get $10 off. Jace Medical, a lot of people don't know about this, is an online. It's in the United States. I actually had the CEO on my channel to interview him. and it's an online medical service where you'll do an evaluation for whatever medications you're taking. And they also have antibiotics. You can get emergency antibiotic kit called the Jace case. And they will send you, like, say you have asthma, or you have seizures, or you have diabetes, or you have heart issues, or cholesterol. There's literally hundreds of meds that they have available. Not every single med, because some are like controlled and things like that. But hundreds of meds are available, and they'll give you a year's supply. Now you have to pay for it. It's not free, but you can get up to a year's supply. So that's an option for people. And of course, if that's too pricey, then you think about like what you were saying, Jericho, where, you know, slowly but surely you keep putting a few more back until you've got a good steady supply of whatever medication it is that you and your family need at home.
Yeah.
Because look at these people that are, you know, in some of these more rural areas around Asheville. From what I'm hearing from the people that I'm talking to, medical services are really, really limited right now. Really limited. So.
One of the guys I talked to, he's actually from South Carolina. His sole mission was, he had a variety of medications, insulins, antibiotics, and then water. And he was flying in and finding out, hey, do you have insulin? Do you need insulin? What type of insulin do you need? And they had freezer packs that you could snap, and then it would turn cold, like cold packs. And they had a bunch of those, so people would have a few days worth of insulin to remain available. And then I think one of the other big things people don't think about, CPAP machines. If you run a CPAP device, if you have a nebulizer, that shit takes electricity. Yep. So even having one of the little Jackery solar units, or hey, Jackery, I could use one if you're listening. But having awesome. One of those, Scuba Steve has a couple different Jackery devices, and we had tested them out. They work great for running electric pumps down on the creek too. Yep. But having something like that is a necessity, because I have solar, but none of my plugins work. Only the 12 volt stuff works. So then I'm sitting here like, okay, coffee pot. Coffee is important. I'm telling you, nobody thinks it is, but coffee is important. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I made hurricane coffee. My wife boiled the water and then poured it into the coffee pot. Day 2, we figured out it was better tasting, because we like it mud style. So we just she dumped the coffee in the boiling water, boiled it, and then poured it through the filter, because we don't have a camp pot yet. We did have one. It got misplaced by somebody. But anyways, I don't know.
Those little solar power stations are really pretty handy. And a generator will do more, like a diesel or gasoline or propane is going to have more power. It's going to be able to do a lot more, but it's also, there's the trade-off that you have to consider, which is they're really loud and they draw a lot of attention to you. So on one of the prepper forums that I participate in, somebody posted this week, and they're up in that area of Western North Carolina, that they were running their generator, and strangers are now walking up to their property and asking, can I buy that generator, and offering her 3 times the cash value of what it's worth. Yeah. Now, that may sound like, oh, hey, opportunity. I'll buy generators in advance of a storm. You do not want strangers walking up to your property and seeing something that you have as a resource. And then, so now she's in danger, because these people, she's like, no, I can't sell my generator. I need it. They may try to come back and take it. Right. Like, exactly. Okay, I wanted to buy it from you. I was willing to give you a lot of money for it. You're going to be like that? I'm going to take it from you tonight. Good luck sleeping. So now,
do the secondary muffler units and then the generator houses work for noise dampening at all? Or
they dampen it, but about like a silencer does on a rifle. It's not going to be like the movies.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool advantages to them, and in most situations, right, like an average storm where everybody knows, okay, the power is going to come back in 2 or 3 days. People aren't going to do that kind of stuff. But that's not what you got right now in Western North Carolina. You've got people who are desperate, and desperate people can get dangerous. So that's in those situations. I don't know that I'd be running my generator unless I absolutely had to. These little solar power stations are basically silent. You know, there's a little bit of a hum to them, but it's, if you're not in the room, you're not going to hear it. They're basically silent, and you can do a lot of things with them. Like you said, you can run a small refrigerator. I've run our chest freezer off of it. You're going to cycle on and off, you know, and you can run fans, and you can, charge up your phone, and you can run some lights, and you can run a TV with a satellite signal, and you can run your comms. You can charge up your Baofangs and get some news for what's going on in the world, and you can recharge your little power banks, like you were saying, right? So all that stuff is good. Those are good things to have. You could, if you've got night vision goggles, right? Like now we're starting to get into expensive gear, but if you've got night vision goggles and you've got the batteries, you can recharge that off the solar thing. Well, guess what? You've got your operational superiority if you've got something like that, or if you've got a drone, right? Now, so if you're the only one in your neighborhood that's got a drone and some nods and maybe some pew pew pews, you're going to be in good position to help your neighborhood out, because you're going to be way more advanced than a lot of people in the area. And all of that is possible with a solar power station, as long as you got sunlight to keep charging it up.
Yep. That's when we have the generator for when we don't.
Yep. So both, right? Like that's probably, if you're in a financial position to do it, that would be my recommendation. These are expensive pieces of kit, right? Like not everybody can do it.
Yeah, but I will say this. If you're wanting to go solar, you don't have to go thousands at the beginning.
Right.
For under $200, you can get a 12-volt battery and all of the equipment that you need to set up and get started. So you can get started for under $200, and it'll be modular to where you want to add a refrigerator. Okay, add 2 more panels and 2 more batteries. Everything else, it just keeps adding on the capacity.
Sarge, for the little flashlight radios thing, I think that's what she's talking about.
I'm not going to recommend mine, because it's honestly, mine's is like really, really low quality. If you want to recommend yours, you can.
I got the same one you did.
Yeah, it's it's not anything that I would write home about. Basically, all I did was went on Amazon and looked up hand crank radio.
So I got 2 for $30. I mean, price wise for what it does, it's completely worth it. But it's not the ultimate flashlight. It's not super bright. Right. It's not the ultimate radio, but it will charge your phone.
Right.
And you can hand crank charge your phone. So if you need to play more Candy Crush, Joe, I'm going to come out of the woods and my forearms are going to be like this, just from charging that flashlight.
Now, if you really want to get into like a weather radio, a dedicated weather radio, like a NOAA weather radio, that would be the way that, like, if you really want me to make a gear recommendation, that would be the way to go. And it's not super expensive, but like a dedicated NOAA weather radio would be the way to go. And it's super easy to program those. They gives you a little booklet. You go and you find your code for your area, and it will wake you up, because they are loud. And even like I'll sleep through the dead. I'll sleep through a bomb. Like it's very hard to wake me up, but that thing will wake me up. It is like something bad is about to happen. It's like.
Have you seen the pillow shakers that they've got? The little devices that go in your pillow.
No, I haven't seen those.
They hook to and they vibrate when it goes off.
For people like me that sleep heavy.
Well, I mean, if you're deaf,
yeah,
it's a concern.
Yeah.
Well, what if we start talking about like the worst case scenario? I know it's pretty bad down there in North Carolina, but if it got to the point where the grid goes down and the monetary system is all corrupt, I guess the next step would be bartering for different articles that you might need, such as food and water and different things like that. What do you have to set aside anything for bartering?
Get out of the city too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should probably get into this, and this is an area where there's a lot of debate in the preparedness community. There are people like me who are very much for you need to have some financial preparedness. You need to, and I am a fan of silver and gold, just like you guys. And we can get into all the reasons why. And then there's people who are like really, really stubbornly like, I don't understand. You can't eat your gold, you can't eat your silver. Well, yeah, you can't eat your flashlights and you can't eat your knives and you can't eat your bullets either, but they still have a purpose, right? Yeah. And I think this is where people get lost, is they don't see where the purpose is. So I would like it if we could talk about that. But even like let's say it's not even like zombie apocalypse, right? I know prepper friends who were homeless, lost their job, and out down on their luck, but they had a coin collection. And that coin collection bounced them back on their feet, got them an apartment, and until they could get a new job. And so if you want to talk about an SHTF, that's a personal SHTF, and absolutely gold and silver had a role there, right?
So what I noticed right here in North Carolina a couple days ago, everybody's worried about this cashless society shit. That's never going to happen. And I'm going to tell you why. I went to this gas station. They got no power, but they got stuff that needs to be sold, and they got people needing to buy some stuff. Cash, silver, or gold. Right now, there's places still down the road without power that are taking cash, silver, and gold. And when I talk to people, everybody's like, well, I got this 5-ounce bar. Okay, so the 5-ounce bar is worth $200, $300. Are you going to pay that? Well, you only got that 5-ounce bar, or you got that 1-ounce coin. So you're going to pay $30 to $60 for a loaf of bread. I always tell people, in my opinion, if you're going to be stacking for this, you need to have silver shot, silver grain, because you're able to weigh that out, and it's smaller fractional than others. And then the other part's crystalline silver as well. It's able to be broken down into, what it's worth by the gram or whatever, and whatever established in the bartering system that you have. And then with gold, a lot of people are buying gold coins for it, but you need that. You need the placer gold, the flour gold, because again, you can weigh it down to a grain, and then you have what you need as far as bartering. And I think it's really important. And then something Sarge and I talked about, my contribution to this for you guys out there is, what do you do? So you got your gold, you got your silver. Years go by. You're running out of gold and you're running out of silver. Now you got your lead. So you're either going to have exchange bullets with somebody. Either you're going to be shooting somebody for necessities if it comes down to it, or you're going to be trading your bullets. Well, or you could just go down to the creek with your gold pan and try your luck at getting some gold. Yes, you have to live in an area where there's gold. There's gold in most of the United States.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you told me that.
Small gold. Some places are worse than others, but here in North Carolina, there's big gold. Joe got a few grams his last trip here. If you think about it, for free, that's what, $160 today, 2 grams.
Oh, yeah.
So people, if you want to learn how to pan, we do panning lessons for free on live streams or backstage, whatever you want. Gold pans are cheap. You can get you a little pan like this. And if you already got a shovel, you might as well throw a pan in your kit, because in the end, how are you going to resupply your stack? And I think a lot of people don't think about that. And that's one of the things I said. I will never be broke as long as I got a shovel and a pan and I can get the dirt in there. And it's not hard to learn. We host an event every spring. It's called the Spring Dirt Fling. It's the end of May. Throughout the beginning of June. It's usually 9 days to 2 weeks. Marion, North Carolina. Come down, learn how to pan, set up a sluice. You can run a high banker, a trommel, an industrial wash plant. You're even going to get to learn how to use a dredge. And you don't have to buy none of the equipment. We've got the equipment here for you. I always tell everybody to get your own pan because they're cheap. But as far as I'm going to get a sluice or I need to get this, everything is here for you to use. And I mean, if you're going to go, I guarantee everyone is going to go home with their own gold every time. And I can guarantee that. And Joe can show his again. Look at that. Just for a 9-day trip.
Oh no, this is
no, that's not that. That's over a year. He's got about 4 or 5 more of those bottles, but I got 5 grams with my wife, and he got 2.5, 3, 2 3/4, something like that. But still
more than that, 3.5.
More than that, 3.5. Yeah, but still, nonetheless, I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of value, and it's definitely going to help resupply. Maybe okay, I can hunt and I can fish. I can get meat. I can set snares. I'm a hoodbilly, little bit city slicker, a little bit shit kicker. So, I'm able to get the foods. Well, what about more medicine or something breaks and you need someone's like Joe can fix things that I can't. So you're going to have to pay people. People are not going to just waste their day generally dicking around with you and your problems. But if you say, hey, I can give you a gram of gold if you fix the axle on my car or whatever. I don't know, just some random shit.
So that brings me to myth number 2 that I see when people are like push back on this is they'll say nobody is going to want gold and silver in an SHTF situation. Well, you guys are in an SHTF situation right now, and people are saying we'll take gold and silver for goods, right?
Yes.
But there's also, we have accounts. There's for 2,000 years of history, we have accounts of people using gold, especially gold, in war situations to get out of a country, to get forged documents, to get goods brought in to them that normally wouldn't be accessible to them, right? And that could be medicine, that could be weapons, that could be whatever you want it to be. We have fairly recent history. There's a gentleman in the preparedness community called Furfell, the modern survivalist, and he talked about the financial collapse in Argentina, and that people think, oh, there'll be no bartering. So here's what's happened when in situations in countries that have been in like war-torn countries. Life still does go on to some extent. Things are disrupted, but life does go on. And when everything starts really falling apart, then people still need stuff. And so they find ways to set up safe bartering communities. This is what happened in Argentina. This is what happened in the breakdown of the Soviet Union. This is happening in other parts of the world right now where there's war going on. So they'll create these little like flea market scenarios, right? If you want to think of it in your head, it's like, and who provides the security? It's usually organized crime. Okay. But they're taking a cut and they make it a safe place where people can come and you can get your toilet paper if you need your toilet paper, and somebody else can get their asthma inhaler that's been smuggled in from Canada or whatever, And guess what people want in those situations? You might be able to trade some fruits or vegetables that you got from your garden or whatever, or maybe your wife makes clothes, or you've got some shoes that are in good condition or something, right? Like maybe you'd be able to trade some. But bottom line is these people who are running these things, they already have all that crap. So they want gold, right? Because they know what that's going to be used for. When your currency is collapsed, the next currency is going to come along that's going to replace it eventually. And gold for over 2,000 years has survived the collapse of civilizations. It's survived the collapse of every currency that you can think of. You can take it anywhere in the world and you can exchange it at a jewelry store or a coin shop and get currency in that cash. So think about that you can change this to any type of cash in the world. And there's ways to do this anonymously, though, that, I'm not going to tell people how to break the law and stuff, but there's ways to do this anonymously where you fly under the radar and people disappear. This is how people disappear. Rich people. Why do you think rich people have a lot of gold?
There was a lady that was interviewed from Venezuela during the hyperinflation that they had. Her husband had a thick gold neck chain.
Yep.
She would cut one link, and she could take one link of that and trade it for a week's groceries for her and her husband. The next week, no matter how much the inflation went, the same one link would get her 1 week of groceries. And it got me to researching, and I figured something out. In 1960, you know how much a regular order of fries at McDonald's cost?
I'm going to say like 5 cents or 10 cents.
1 dime.
1 dime.
But if you take that same 1960 dime to today,
yeah,
guess how much a regular order of fries cost?
Been to McDonald's in a while. I'm going to say $3, $4.
About what that dime's melt value is now.
There you go.
In silver,
So the same dime, that same silver dime will buy the same amount now as it did 65 years or 64 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm going to tell you, they were holding up their gold and stuff. I'm in Arkansas. We don't have a lot of gold around here.
Mm-hmm.
But I take my house payment, and every week I have the bank get me 2 boxes of $50.
Mm-hmm.
And week before last, I got 23 silver dollars. Only got 12 this time, but it's a mixture of 90% and 40%. And I carry both of them. And even it doesn't have to be a hitting the fan type deal. We were in a restaurant the other day, and it was like 100 and something bucks. I pulled out $2 for the tip, but it was 2 40s and 2 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I called them over there and I said, look, don't spend these. These are silver. And they went crazy. They loved it. It only cost me $2 because I got them for face value.
Okay.
And I'm not risking anything because at the end of the month, I just go pay my house bill and start it over again, house payment.
Right.
So you don't have to risk any money.
Right.
So
yeah. And so let me throw out one other scenario with this. Let's say that all of us like Doomsday preppers are wrong. Okay. And Sarge is in his early 50s. I hope to retire at the age of 65. I mean, I'll still work, but like significantly reduced volume of work than what I'm doing now. I work like crazy right now. But so let's say I get to 65. No EMP has happened. No zombies walking the earth. We have, a lot of storms. We have our wars. We have our recessions that come and go. But here we are. I mean, I thought it was a doomsday prepper. I thought, the world's going to end. Would you rather have, in that scenario, a bank vault full of silver and gold or a basement full of canned peaches and Spam?
Did you say spam?
Spam.
no spam. No
Right?
spam.
No
Spam is good.
Right. But I would say it would be nice to have both, right? It would be nice to have some food, emergency food. But if I put everything into emergency food and preps and things like that, and I haven't done any financial preparedness, I'm screwed in retirement. Now I got my own personal SHTF, right? So there's really when you get into gold and silver, and that's not the only asset I like. I like real estate. I like some dividend producing stocks. I even have a little bit of cryptocurrency. But when you get into gold and silver and financial preparedness, there's almost no risk to it, right? Because in the end, if nothing happens, I've got my gold and silver tangible, right? And I can sell that bit by bit to help fund myself in my retirement. Or I can gift it to my stepdaughter, right? Or I can give it to a homeless shelter, whatever I want to do, But there's if I only had canned peaches and Spam, how am I going to pay my bills?
Sorry, it doesn't have to be at the end of that either.
Yeah.
Because you could be sitting there like me and your whole air conditioning system go out.
That's right.
And luckily you've got your savings account that you can go and reach. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering disasters. It could just be your granddaughter needs a dress for prom.
Right.
I mean, I'm throwing it in as a jest, but it has saved me twice in the last 5 years when I needed something that I would not have been able to do if we didn't have it.
Yeah, emergencies come and go, and when it's not zombies or EMPs, money sure comes in handy.
Right. And one of the biggest mistakes I've seen is people that think that this is prepping stuff, we put it back there, and we don't ever touch it.
Yeah.
And everybody that I've seen do that, they end up quitting after a while because there's a disconnect.
Mhm.
They need to understand that this is something that, yes, we're saving for a bad time, but it could be just a little bit of a bad time. We could, and then replenish it. And I don't know. It just seems like if you use it like that, you appreciate it more and you understand what it's for instead of just sticking it back and don't touching it unless the fan has been hit.
Yep.
I just think that's a way to get disappointed.
Well, you see, that's a scenario that I understand and you understand, and possibly you, Sarge, would understand it, being that we're a little bit higher in age than maybe the rest of the people out there. But we were taught. I was taught to save for a rainy day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. I didn't grow up in a very wealthy family. We were my father had worked the common middle class here, working, trying to keep everything together. So we learned how to save for that rainy day, and it's a lot easier for us to continue doing that in our age than it is, I believe, for the younger people, these Gen X's and Gen Y people, or whatever generation that we're talking about. They don't understand that as well as we do.
Yeah.
I got a can of SpaghettiOs the other day and went to open it, and they had put with 2 pictures on there showing how to open the pop top can of SpaghettiOs. If that's what's going to be taking care of us when we get put in the home, we're going to starve to death.
All right, I'm going to come to defense of Gen Z here, okay? Because I love Gen Z, I do, and I actually have just done a couple videos on my mental health channel about why I love Gen Z. They think differently than us. So I'm not gonna make fun of them. I think they're cool, and I think that but I will also validate that the world for them, like when I got my first house, right? And again, if anybody's tuning in late now, this is not my house. It's just a backdrop. I'm not that well off. But when I bought my first house, I was able to buy that with only $3,000 down. You can't do that now, right? Mm-hmm. So it's I think it is a lot harder for Gen Z and the next group that's coming after them to get their start. And I get that when they say, well, I don't even have money to buy diapers, hardly. How am I going to get silver and gold? But I think, Jericho, like, you're given an option here, right? Like, this is for people that got no money. This is a great option.
It is. And it's really not that difficult. And if you want to practice at home, I just put a thing in chat. So the #1 seller for pay dirt on Amazon, and when you Google it, is a huge ripoff. You get maybe 1 or 2 flecks. Sometimes it's jewelry gold that they smash down with a hammer. There's a lot. Do pay dirt review search on YouTube. There's a shitload of different pay dirt sellers out there, and there's a bunch of different people that review them. We sell pay dirts. Joe gives away pay dirts. Package of insane yesterday's don't eat the box. But if you guys want to learn how to pan at home, what I suggest is getting a starter bag where it has exactly a 1/4 gram, exactly a 1/2 gram, and you know exactly what's going to be in that bag. That way, when you pan it and you weigh it, you're like, okay, I missed some. You pan it, you weigh it, okay, I missed some. Now, the best thing about using a panning tub and a safety pan and panning it at home is you can dry all that back out and practice with the same one again until you figure you got it down. So you don't need to make a huge investment. You can there's a bunch of different pans, and as our geologist says, how many ways can you make a mouse trap? There's so many different kinds of pans. I think I have 7 of them sitting here at the panning station. But you only need 1 pan, maybe 2, a big one, and then a small one to pan into. I mean, you can honestly, what's pay dirt? So yes, as in gold panning. And that was what we were talking about. The best way for people to resupply their stack and to supply their stack for free, well, elbow grease and labor, but still going out to a creek and panning for your own gold. The GPAA is an amazing resource. Joe's got a couple bags. Did you pan all the ones you got for me? There's the Mega Dog pay dirt.
That's got a 1/4 gram of gold in it.
There's some Culver prospecting dirt.
Yeah, this has I don't know, 1 gram. It has 1 gram of gold in it. And these are
Joe, they spelt my name wrong on that one.
Did they?
Yeah.
What can I tell you?
You got that cool little red bag?
Hey, Joe's got some that's got silver in it too.
This is actually what it looks like. You know, this is a big bag of pay dirt. I don't know where I got it from, but it's got my name on it. So
I think that one's from me too. You got one of the little red ones?
The little red one?
Yeah, the most recent one. Well, so one of the things we like to do is we go to different areas and we collect concentrates from the different areas so people can experience panning all over the U.S. The one I'm trying to get Joe to show is our most recent one. It's our Nugget Hunter bag. We put a 1/2 gram plus in, and then 1 out of 20 bags, we put a 1+ gram nugget in it. Nice. But the dirt is based upon eastern North Carolina and the red clay.
I must add, one of the 4 bags that I got from him, I got a 1/2 gram nugget in it that was not added it was natural. I thought I found that nugget and I said, hey, I got gypped. It's only 1/2 gram. He went, you didn't get it.
Yeah, that's just a bonus nugget.
Yeah.
So we were talking before we went live. I just want to throw this out there too. That like in North Carolina, there's a lot of gems too, right? So yeah. I know a lot of people have told me like diamonds, and it's like a big old scam. Don't waste your time with diamonds. But if you were to say rubies, sapphires, emeralds, right? Those would be the big 3. Which of those has the most value in terms of like just I'm gonna find some, put it aside, whatever.
All right, so I just got audio back. What'd you ask?
Of rubies, sapphires, and emeralds, which one would you guys say is the most valuable?
So what we can get here in North Carolina, it's the rubies by far. Yeah. Depending on where you're at, like I like showing off this is where I'm at. So I'm the monkey in the middle here. And every single one of these locations either has gold or it has semi-precious gemstone or other valuable mineral that you can get. But the emeralds here, unless you get lucky with a good green clear, they're not as valuable as the rubies. You have a higher chance of getting a ruby of more value. If you live in Idaho, they got the star rubies, and Montana has the sapphires, natural sapphires that you can find. If you live where Samurai lives, diamonds. So there's gemstones and minerals everywhere, and those GPS coordinates I get are from rockhoundresource.com. It's 100% free. They do have a disclaimer on there that says not every location given is on public land or has public access. So do your due diligence and do your research. People do shoot at you if you're trespassing on their land. I'll tell you that. I stopped first time down in North Carolina. I stopped to take a leak at the end of a driveway. I didn't even pull in, but like we were on a back road heading back to the interstate, and I'm like, man, I gotta pee. Just you forget to pee when you leave. I don't know, but next thing I know, I hear shooting birdshot over top of my head.
Oh, geez.
But I'm I'm still on the road, but I'm stopped by his property in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. He's like, what's this Yankee doing? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just pissing. I ain't even in your yard. But he didn't care.
So what's the answer?
What?
You said rubies for South Carolina, but it sounds like
North Carolina.
I picked emeralds.
Well, that's the most value would be rubies here because you get a better quality ruby. But
so it's regional, is what you're saying.
It's honestly regional, yes. Okay. Because you could have gem quality kyanite where you're at, which would have more value than a non-gem quality garnet you have. But then topaz.
I was just basing it off of what I spend on my wife, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
What's
Miss
up,
Southern
Big Valley
Belle.
Living?
I saw Big Valley Living. I saw Miss Southern Belle. How you guys doing? So do we? I know we talked about. I had a friend here too. Did you guys have any other questions before we start to head in that direction?
I was looking to see if he was live. Will you drop his link again?
Yeah. So you want me to go ahead and talk about what's going on here?
Yep.
Sure.
So Jacob Peterson. For those of you who are from my channel,
Oh, he is live.
He is live now.
Yep.
Let's see. Yep, he just went live a few minutes ago. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the link unless you already did it.
Nope.
You got it. All right, I'll grab it. So Jacob Peterson is a friend of mine. He makes knives. And for those of you who've watched my channel, the knife that I did that looks like the adventure bricks. It looks like I did that over the summer. I did a video on that. He's the one who collaborated on that. So I just put his link in there. He's got a live stream here where he's actually doing some auctions tonight. So I told him that we would shout him out if you want to go check out that and check out this guy makes some really cool designs on knives. I love my adventure brick. It's a great little bushcraft knife and small enough to be like an everyday carry. But he's got some other stuff too. I think he said he's got some other brands in there as well, like tops. And I think he said he's got an SE that he's going to auction off and stuff. So some really high quality stuff. So if you guys want to check that out, we can raid there when we're done.
The link is right there.
Right there.
Should be right above you. 406 Miner.
But yeah. So Sarge, appreciate it. I definitely want to have you come back up again. Gonna get a pan in your hands somehow and get a dirt in your hands so you can be the guinea pig for your people, but you're gonna get some gold out of the deal. So
cool. Yeah, let's do it. And I had a blast, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your wisdom, guys. I learned a ton tonight too.
Oh, we're the ones that appreciate you enlightening us to fact that there's a lot that I don't know. That's for sure. I really appreciate you coming up here.
My pleasure.
And I still have a pile of questions for you. That
so we can do it again. Yeah, we can schedule another one. Yeah.
Sarge, normally I would at this point I would give you a pen, but I'm not going to this time.
Okay.
I've got some new kits coming that I put the handles on. They're the 20,000 strike fire starters.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
The magnesium fire starter, but I customized the handle. If you will send me a laserable logo, I will put your logo on it for you.
Oh, sweet. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
But all right, we're going to play the outro. Watch the outro. It shows you some of the cool shit we customize. And see you over at the live. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Sitting out one